Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I was just about to turn 10 years old, back in a time that feels ancient now. No internet, no cell phones. Regular phones were just starting to lose their cords. My world had been silent for most of my childhood, but a few months earlier, everything changed. I got these tiny battery-powered hearing aids that finally let me hear sounds. Before that, I had to wear these clunky earpieces connected to a black box strapped to my chest with a harness. They didn't work well for me. Too much feedback noise. Though I would later use something similar called an FM system in school. As my 10th birthday approached, my parents did something amazing. They rented the party room at my favorite pizza restaurant, a place where most of the staff knew sign language. The restaurant had a special layout. Our party room was in the back corner, with the arcade room directly opposite. There wasn't a door between them, which became important later. The main restaurant floor had booths along the walls, and two sections in the middle. The front section was sunken like those conversation pits from the 70s, with a circular table in the center holding a fireplace. Gaming systems lined the tables against the walls. Behind that was a regular seating area with tables and chairs. Both sections could be rented for parties. I was in the party room setting things up when this woman appeared. I saw her talking to my uncle but didn't think much about it. I was busy studying my word list, since I was learning to form actual words. I could make sounds, but forming them into real words was still new to me. My cousin tapped my shoulder to get my attention and signed that my uncle wanted to speak with me. I went over and he signed that the woman wanted our party room and was offering to switch with us. I asked where her section was. It was the back section of the middle area. I agreed to switch. As we were moving our things, I heard the woman complaining about gang signs and saying she wasn't sure about switching because she was afraid of violence, but her kid wanted the party room. After we switched, I was having my speech lesson with my dad. I sat on his lap with one hand on my chest and the other on his, trying to copy the same motions his chest made as he said the words on my list. I was struggling with a difficult word. Suddenly, we heard a screech. The woman was pointing at us and making a scene. She was yelling about how we were being bad and using gang signs. She said her husband would arrest all of us when his backup arrived. My uncle stood up. He's a huge man, nice inside but scary outside. He towered over her and looked down. He told her that I was deaf and learning to speak. He said we were using sign language, not gang signs. He also told her that her kid and his friends would not be allowed to bother our party and would need to go around us to reach the arcade. The woman said it was too far for her son to walk, but my uncle told her he didn't care. Just then, red and blue lights started flashing outside, and the woman looked happy. Police officers rushed in. She looked shocked when my uncle greeted them. One of the officers called my uncle chief, showing everyone that my uncle was the police chief. He then turned to the woman and gave her two choices. He told her she could either be arrested and spend a night in jail, or she could tell her son that he couldn't bother our party and would have to walk around us to get to the arcade while leaving us alone. The officers spread out, and my uncle told two officers to stay nearby. It's a good thing he did. The woman ended up getting arrested after all. First, her son and his friends destroyed the salad bar. Then he tried to steal the Nintendo 64 from one of the gaming tables. After that, he almost got away with the PlayStation. He was also caught trying to steal my new Hot Wheels garage playset twice. I think I heard the woman calling me the R word and asking why I wasn't in a home yet. That bad stereotype was finally starting to fade back then, but some people still thought that way. The final straw came when the woman tried to skip out on paying for the party room, a room she actually never bought the party package for in the first place. And it turned out her husband wasn't even a police officer. He just ran the evidence storage area at the station. The woman refused to pay, saying the service was bad and we were using gang signs at her son. The manager tried to explain that it was sign language she had seen, and told her that she hadn't bought any party package but still needed to pay for the room rental and the damages her son caused. The woman then tried to scare everyone by asking if they knew who her husband was, saying he worked with the police department. My uncle stepped in again and said her husband only worked in evidence lockup, wasn't an actual officer, and had no power to arrest anyone. He asked if she was going to pay or if the officers should take her to the station. The woman started shouting about unfairness, which made my uncle tell her this was just what happens when you do bad things. He then told the officers to take her to the station. The officers handcuffed her while the manager talked to her husband, who looked embarrassed when he finally showed up. He ended up paying for everything, including the damages. My uncle came back to our table after the woman was taken away. He said sorry for the problem, mentioned someone was about to blow out birthday candles. My dad hugged me tight and I could feel him laughing against my chest. My birthday ended up being special, in ways no one expected, but it was still great. The restaurant gave us extra pizza and tokens for the arcade to make up for the trouble, and I finally learned that difficult word I have been working on: celebration. I lived in a flat with 5 other people a few years ago when I was around 19. We all got along pretty well at first, especially me and one of my female roommates. We were probably the closest pair out of everyone. After nights out, we would have sleepovers in each other's rooms and stay up late watching TV together. Things were great until I got a boyfriend. Around the same time, my female roommate began dating one of our male roommates. Because of this, we both began spending a little less time together, which I thought was normal since we were both in new relationships. My family started going through tough times. My mom got diagnosed with dementia, then I found my aunt in a pool of her own vomit, and she had to be admitted to rehab. It was scary. During this period, I was barely at the flat. Most of my time was spent taking care of my aunt's kids and making sure my mom had proper care. I was exhausted. Back at the apartment, I could feel tensions rising. My female roommate never asked where I was or if I was okay. I could tell she was annoyed at me for something, and her boyfriend seemed irritated too. But I was so tired from my family commitments that I never brought it up with them. About a year later, I still got along great with my other 3 roommates, but the couple would barely acknowledge me in the kitchen. Conversations were one-sided. I was always the one asking how they were or what they were up to, and they'd give me short, cold responses. It got worse. They started spreading rumors about me and my boyfriend to our friends, saying we were having relationship problems and that I tried to dump him but he wouldn't let me. None of this was true, and it hurt to hear these lies going around. Then I got mono and was bedridden for a few days. They had messaged me a few times, but being knocked out by the illness, I didn't answer right away. The next time I entered the kitchen after recovering enough to get out of bed, I could tell the male roommate was angry. I decided to finally confront the situation. I asked him what I had done wrong and why he was acting like this. His response was hurtful. He told me I was ugly, fat, and that nobody in the flat cared about me. Before I could ask why he was so angry, he ran off. I stood there in shock with tears in my eyes. I couldn't believe someone I'd lived with for years would say something so mean when he knew I was dealing with family problems. After that, strange things started happening to my belongings. My shampoo smelled funny. My food started going missing from the fridge. My body wash got runny, as if someone had added water to it. And one day, there was a stain on my toothbrush. I told my other roommates what I suspected was happening, but I never told them about my revenge plan. First, I peed in their shared face wash. I know it's disgusting, but I was at my breaking point. Next, I put hair removal cream in their shampoo. I replaced all of her sugar with salt. I also switched out their protein powder with a bulking solution of the same flavor. By this time, they had decided to move out, which was a relief. But I wasn't done. One of my female roommates' complaints about me was that we both had cars, and where we lived, you were only entitled to 1 parking space per flat. I knew her new roommate was considering reinsuring their old car, so I told them that would be a great idea, meaning she would have more parking issues at her new place. Maybe I went too far with my revenge, but they didn't have to be so cruel when I was at a low point in my life. They knew what I was going through with my mom's dementia and my aunt's rehab, yet they chose to make my life harder. The other 3 roommates told me they noticed how badly the couple had been treating me and were glad when they moved out. They had also grown tired of the couple's attitude. About a year ago, my landlord of 6 years sent me a text saying that he was selling the duplex I was renting. I had been living there since right after high school, making it truly feel like my first real home. My landlord told me that the new owners would want to keep renting to me and the older couple living in the other half of the duplex. Oh, how naive I was. The new owners lived on the opposite side of the country and would be dealing with us through a rental management company in town. When I looked them up, I noticed something suspicious. Every positive review came from landlords working with them, while all the negative ones were from tenants. That should have been my first warning. June 2022 arrived, and with it came a letter stating I had 92 days to vacate due to renovations. In my area, there are laws protecting tenants, but if renovations are extensive enough, landlords can legally evict tenants. I was completely devastated. This place had been my home for 6 years, the first place that truly felt like mine since leaving my parents' house. I knew exactly what was happening. They were using renovations as an excuse to dramatically increase the rent. There was a law that rent couldn't be increased more than 4% for existing tenants, and we were paying significantly below market rate compared to other apartments in town. I fought with everything I had to stay. I contacted the management company and asked if I could keep my place after renovations were complete. I explained that I could temporarily stay with my parents for a few months during construction if the rent afterward wouldn't be ridiculous. After 2 weeks of silence, they finally responded. The management company claimed they didn't know what the owner wanted to do. Really? Isn't their entire job to be the middleman between landlords and tenants? Every time I asked a question, they only had poor excuses. I contacted the government agency responsible for tenant rights to see if I had grounds for legal action. They explained that as long as renovations started at least 2 months after my termination date and were extensive enough to cause loss of power or water for several days, I had no case. I kept watching, and sure enough, renovations started a few weeks after I left. I knew they were completely redoing the bathroom, so I had no legal options. I moved back in with my parents since every apartment in town was triple what I had been paying, and I simply couldn't afford them. On Christmas Eve morning, I looked up my old apartment online. There it was, listed for rent with photos of the remodel. They had replaced all the floors, completely redone the bathroom, and painted all the walls white. They had added a washer and dryer to both units and a dishwasher to only one. All the major appliances had been replaced, including my ancient but functional yellow stove, along with the refrigerator and light fixtures. The new rent, $815 more per month than what I had been paying. I was still interested in moving back, but at that price, it was impossible. A few months later, I checked again. They had lowered the price by $50. They weren't finding interested renters. I checked again several months later and saw they were offering 2 weeks of free rent as an incentive. I laughed. Someone had bought this house thinking it would be a great investment. They kicked out 3 excellent tenants, poured money into renovations, and then failed because nobody wanted to pay their ridiculous rent. And they were too stubborn to lower the price because they'd spent so much on renovations. Just yesterday, I looked up the address once more. To my shock, the duplex was for sale. They were so stubborn about the rent that they'd given up entirely and were trying to sell it, probably for 3 times what they paid. Part of me felt sad because every day I wish I could have that apartment and life back. I hate where I am right now and would love to buy the duplex myself, but that's financially impossible for me. But another part of me laughed because karma had delivered what I couldn't. The new owners treated us tenants like garbage, and now they were facing the results of their greed. The revenge I fought for but couldn't get back then had come about through some sort of cosmic justice. I went to visit my old apartment yesterday, just out of curiosity. When I told my friend about it later, I described how they'd completely gutted the place with new floors, a new bathroom, and new appliances. The shocking part, I explained, was that it had been sitting empty for months. My friend asked if anyone was renting it, and I told him that nobody wanted to pay $815 more than what I had been paying. I mentioned that I checked the listing that morning and found they were now trying to sell the whole duplex because they couldn't find tenants. My friend said it served them right for kicking us all out, and I agreed, saying that while I was still upset about losing my home, watching their investment fail was satisfying. When I told my parents about it over dinner, my dad shook his head and said, "This is what happens when people get greedy. They see dollar signs instead of good tenants." I said I wished I could buy the place myself and move back in. My mom tried to comfort me by saying that maybe someday I could, but for now I could at least watch them squirm. I work in luxury hospitality. When someone important needs special treatment, I make it happen with a smile. Working in hospitality means I meet celebrities sometimes. A few months ago, an event promoter called me. He messed up the arrangements for an important artist and needed my help. The promoter called me, sounding worried. He told me the artist was angry about the accommodations. He asked me to help him out because I handle these situations well. I like this guy too much. I had a crush on him for years, but he only noticed me when he needed something. I still always helped him. I asked what he needed, trying to sound professional. He told me to make the artist happy and that he would owe me. I told him to send me the details. I never asked for anything back. This wasn't the first time I fixed his mistakes with upset artists. Despite my feelings, I never asked to be on his guest lists. I bought tickets to support his business like a good customer. When I arrived to fix things, I met the artist's tour manager. He looked stressed but happy I came to help. The manager told me the situation was bad and the artist might cancel the show. I told him not to worry and that I just needed an hour. In a few hours, I fixed everything. The artist was happy, the show happened, and the manager was thankful. We became good friends after that. The manager told me I was amazing and put me on his guest list for life, any show, anywhere. A couple months later, I saw a show coming through the promoter's company. The manager texted me that he knew the artist's team. The manager asked if I wanted to go to the show next week and offered to put me and a friend on the list. I said that would be great because I was waiting to buy cheaper tickets since I couldn't stay all night. He told me not to worry about it. He even sent screenshots showing my name on the guest list. I felt sure when my friend and I got to the venue. At the door, the staff asked for my name. When I gave it, they said I wasn't on the list. I asked them to check again and told them the artist manager added me. They said I wasn't listed. I asked them to call the promoter since the manager was in another country. I called the promoter. No answer. I called his assistant, my usual contact. Nothing. After waiting 20 minutes looking stupid, I paid $60 for tickets plus $40 for parking. $100 total for a night that should have been free. The next day I told the manager what happened. He was angry. The manager asked if I was joking. He said he personally made sure I was on that list. I told him I wasn't and had to pay full price. I heard back from the promoter's assistant the next day. The assistant told me I was on the list, but they got the final list after I arrived. I told him that wasn't my problem and explained I paid $100 when I was promised free entry. He asked if I expected my money back since they lost money on the show. I was shocked. After all the times I helped them, this is how they treated me. I told the manager about this conversation and he got even more angry. The manager called them idiots and said he would handle them. A few weeks later, the promoter announced his biggest show yet with one of the most famous artists in that music genre. This artist was also the manager's client. The manager decided to visit me before the show. The manager told me he was putting me and 3 friends on the VIP list with backstage access. He called the promoter to tell him. The promoter told him he wasn't comfortable with that many people backstage. The manager told him he didn't care what made him comfortable. He explained he controlled the artist's guest list, and we were on it. The night of the show, everything went smoothly. I walked in with the artist's team. It was an amazing night with VIP treatment. During the event, the manager talked to the promoter. The manager told the promoter that from now on, I was to be treated like one of his artists. That show was in November. The artist was planning one of his biggest shows ever this month in another country. I convinced the promoter to get his passport and come to the country for the show. I thought I was doing him a favor. The manager had different plans. He put the promoter on the basic guest list with mediocre seats. The manager told me the promoter needed a lesson. He said he would give him backstage access after he came to find me and said thank you. We hadn't heard from the promoter since November. Suddenly, he was posting on social media about being invited to this international show. He made it seem like he got invited because he was important, not because I asked for him. During the show, the promoter sent me a sad face message about not having VIP access. I sent a sad face back and told him to come find me. I had backstage passes for him and his friends in my pocket but didn't tell him. I wanted him to at least try to thank me. He never did. He never came to say hello to me or the manager. No thank you for the free entry. He just left early. The manager and I laughed about it later at the VIP after party. I joked that maybe I should give the promoter some water since he seemed salty. The manager suggested keeping him off all guest lists from now on. He said if the promoter wanted to attend shows, he could pay like everyone else. I agreed. And as for my crush on the promoter, it's over. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.